On the subject of terror, as New York City still reeling in the aftermath of the horrific terror attack on Halloween afternoon, check this out. A teacher in Massachusetts actually had a math question put to her students to solve for the airspeed and the time in the air of the planes that struck the Twin Towers. It's absolutely outrageous. And what makes the story even worse is that same high school lost someone, one of their students, on 9/11. I want to bring in clinical psychologist Dr. Jeffrey Gardier joins me. Dr. Jeff, good to see you again. How are you?
Always a pleasure, Bill. Thank you.
I've got to ask you, Doc, what do you think? I mean, these kids, just for context for everyone, clearly these kids were not born on 9/11. But what goes through the mind, first of all, of a teacher that would put this on a test, and two, the impact on the kids?
Well, I think that this particular teacher, let's give the teacher the benefit of the doubt. It wasn't about trying to hurt anyone emotionally, but it was really not very good judgment.
This high school actually did lose a student on 9/11.
Yeah.
But what about, you're in New York. My guess is you've dealt with this by some of the kids that were impacted on 9/11. What have you found in in the folks that you've treated?
Well, I think that this is something that will never go away because it will always be part of infamy. And people just have been able to work through it. But anytime we bring up 9/11 or the anniversary, I see a lot of people are hurt by this. So this is certainly not the type of example, real life example, you want to choose in order to teach a math problem.
Real quick, when will enough time have elapsed? I mean, if we had a conversation, let's say about Pearl Harbor, probably not going to have much of an impact on anyone.
It's very hard to put a specific time on it because this is something that I believe emotionally, mortally wounded so many New Yorkers. We never had anything like this before. So many brave people were lost. And all of our personnel, EMT, firefighters, cops, so many people lost, so many families lost. This is one I don't think we'll ever forget.
Okay.
Not the impact anyway.
Thank you, Doc. Always good to talk to you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring back our A-plus panel. Laura, let me start with you. You and I talked about this before the show. Just what could have possibly been going through this teacher's mind?
Well, I'm going to give the teacher the benefit of the doubt that he or she didn't mean to hurt anyone, didn't mean to have a negative impact. But I think what this really points to is a desensitization of 9/11 and other very traumatic events. And I think that's really the problem here. Not whether this teacher had evil in his or her heart, but rather that this person is allowing students to be desensitized to something as terrible as a terror attack. And I think that's the problem here.
Phil, I mean, you hear this, talk about being desensitized. It sounds to me like we're there. We had a political debate happening right after Las Vegas. We had a political debate happening right after the terror attack in New York City. It's like people just carve out their positions and they're almost completely detached from the fact that people are dying.
Immediately after Vegas, it was about gun control. After New York, it was about immigration. Listen, I think maybe because they're in Massachusetts, they're a little farther away than New York, we have a little different impact. I think the teacher used poor judgment. He or she could have got their lesson across a lot differently than that. But listen, there's all 9/11. There's television shows. There's musicals now on Broadway about 9/11.
Dr. Gardier talked about how the closest to New York City, but think about one of the flights originating in Boston. I mean, it's beyond comprehension.
And let's not forget, this is a math class.
And it's a math class.
Like this was, no one's saying don't talk about 9/11, don't talk about terrorism, but this was really not the context.
Well, in a history class or in a counterterrorism class, maybe you're having that conversation. I don't know, it doesn't belong in math. But again, I don't know what the teacher's intent was. Maybe it was malicious. Who knows? What do you think, Wayne?
Well, yeah, I think he did bad judgment. And I think in his distorted way, he probably was trying to say, math is used in all kinds of circumstances, in a military precision type of thing. Maybe he was trying to convey that, but it really was a bad choice.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Wayne, I want to thank you. Always good to see you. Laura, thank you. Phil, great to see you. We'll have you back.
Can't wait.